Do y'all think that the better team won, or was this just a bad game with the
They got a
Southern
cloud hanging over their head.
You execute when you're supposed to execute, and we didn't do that. They were the better team in that game.
Well, what a week in college football. There was the
What a
usual,
50 days.
right, is the usual rivalry week madness, but then you throw in the coaching carousel, which really just got turned into a gravitron this week with rumors,
It's the
excitement.
zipper. If you've ever been to the fair, the
Uh,
ride the zipper, where it's spinning, you're flipping uncontrollably. There's
oh
somehow
gosh.
no seat belt, and the ride was put up yesterday.
Right. Yeah. You may just go flying for all you know.
Yes.
But yeah, the rumors, the excitement, the tears, the gnashing of teeth, all of it. We're here for all of it. We'll get to all of that and a special guest who can give us the inside scoop from one of the most excited fandoms in all of college football right now. But first, Jesse, how are you?
I've got a couple new gray hairs, which is it's fine. It's fine. Did I for maybe point 0.5 of a second think we might get Lane Kiffin? Yeah, I did. But we pulled it out. We're here.
Let me ask you seriously before we get into them. Was there ever a point, and I know this is sacrilege to even say this, was there ever a point in the Iron Bowl where you hoped that Bama might lose because it might mean that you might get Kiffin?
No, I didn't want us to lose. I knew that that was a possibility, but I still just can't condone losing to Auburn. Like
Right,
it's never going to be okay.
right,
Even if it meant Lane Kiffin, because at the end of the day, that was never a certainty either. I
right.
mean, maybe sort of, yes, but no, no.
Yeah, no, I get it. Had to ask those. All right, let's talk about those rivalry week games.
Always remember, if you ain't first, you're last.
All right, first was the Egg Bowl. Speaking of Lane, Ole Miss at Mississippi State. Ole Miss winning this one 38 to 19. Jesse got the point here. And look, as far as the game goes, Kamario Taylor for Mississippi State, he is going to be a problem for people in the future. But in this game, it was all Trinidad Chambliss who showed great poise in a big rivalry game, as he has in a lot of games this year. So I'm really impressed more so with how the Ole Miss players were able to shut out all the outside noise about Lane Kiffin and not only focus on their opponent, but play really well against them. Jesse, what were your thoughts on the Egg Bowl?
I mean, I agree with you. I think it shows a lot of poise by those student athletes because no one was talking about their game.
Right,
No, no, I don't even know if anyone was watching their game. They were waiting for whatever press conference was coming afterwards.
right,
That was it. And they were able to put together a complete game. And that could have been one where if they lost, despite them being a better team, you would have said, okay, I get it. There's a lot of distraction here.
right.
I could excuse that, but they didn't. And we'll talk, I know, a little bit more about the players, but I this game I just felt bad for the players because and you feel bad for Mississippi State too, because no one cares.
Right. It,
No one
it just got
cares.
lost in the madness.
It did. It did. But I think this game went exactly how we thought it was going to go.
Yeah.
I am impressed that Miss State was able to put up, as many points as they did. But at the end of the day, if we thought that they had a chance in this, that's misguided.
Yeah. Let's move quickly to clean old-fashioned hate, Georgia versus Georgia Tech. We did not go into eight overtimes in this one. As a matter of fact, the score was pretty low
Yeah.
in this one. Georgia winning this one 16 to 9. I got the point here. Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We made ourselves, I felt, one-dimensional in this one by almost running exclusively. And when we did decide to pass, it was like a bombs away, deep ball, low percentage pass type of thing. So I don't know why we didn't do more like quick hitting passes to loosen things up. As things went along, Georgia Tech could just key in on the run game. And we've said so much this year, and the coaches have said this, that we trust Gunnar Stockton and we feel comfortable putting the game in his hands. And largely that's been true. But I feel like we really handcuffed ourselves in this one. thankfully the defense played really well and held a good Georgia Tech offense to only 9 points. So we kind of sneak away with one here, and we'll move on to the next one. But Jesse, did you have any thoughts on this one?
I mean, I'm just looking again. I feel like I say it every single week, but I'm looking at third down conversion. I mean, 6 for 14 for Georgia, 4 for 11 for Georgia Tech. This was obviously a defensive game. You can look at the score and tell that it's very circa 2011.
Hmm.
But yeah, this one is one where I think this is maybe a little bit of a wake up game for the players and for the coaching staff at UGA. They've got the SEC championship coming up, and I know we'll talk about it later. You've got that coming up this weekend. And like you said, to make yourself very one dimensional, maybe this was a little bit of oh, you can do that against Georgia Tech and a very, very good Georgia Tech team, but you can't do that in the SEC championship. So I imagine there's going to be uh, a lot of practice and a lot of conversations at UGA happening this week.
And part of it, I was wondering, are we like just playing the cards close to the chest here to not give away too much in the event that we play next week? And I'm like, well, that
But
doesn't
you
really
can't do
matter if you
that.
end up losing the game. So,
Exactly. You can't do that. It was an interesting tactics by
yeah,
UGA, whatever the motivation was.
yeah. Let's move to Lone Star Showdown, Texas A&M at Texas. Texas winning this one 27-17. I was the only one to pick Texas here, so I got the point. But A&M got outscored 24-7 in the second half, and that was obviously the difference in the game. Marcel Reed looked a little shaky towards the end. I don't know if that was because of the big moment or if Texas was just making the game speed up with their good defensive play, or maybe a combination of both. I'm not sure, but either way, because of this, A&M finds themselves out of the SEC championship game, which honestly may not be a bad place to be. I don't
No,
know. Jesse, what were your thoughts on this one?
this one was interesting. I mean, I obviously picked A&M, but I think, and I've said it a little bit in previous shows, I don't know that A&M had been fully tested. And I thought that this one was going to be a good test. We saw that Texas really stepped it up in the second half. They were dominant. Arch Manning had a great showing. He showed a lot of leadership and he was critical. His performance was super critical in their success. Their defense began to step up. It was the defense that we saw against Oklahoma that we were like, wow, Texas is here. And I think what this game showed, and I know our Aggie fans are going to be upset by saying this, but hopefully they'll look back at the game and realize it is A&M just did not handle adversity well. And it seems to be a little bit of an inability to handle adversity. They were faltering under pressure. They are very used to being the front runners in their game, and they play well when things are going smoothly, but they seem to struggle when they were facing adversity and just couldn't get back on top of it. I I don't know why. I don't know if that's because, like I said, they haven't had to face a lot of adversity thus far, and Texas has. Texas is a veteran when it comes to adversity. They have the experience of having to come back from behind and really take over a game. And I think this game highlighted it. It obviously impacts the SEC championship, but this was a great game for Arch Manning. This was a great game for the Texas defense, and one that honestly surprised me. I did not expect Texas to be in this game. And I think this is a good wake-up call for A&M that they need to be able to get back ahead if they're behind.
Yeah, and who knows, this long term may kind of help them build that resiliency that they'll need for a playoff run, which they're still very much in the middle of. So
Oh, for sure.
um, let's move to the Governor's Cup for Kentucky at Louisville. Not much to talk about here. Louisville winning 41-0. What is to talk about here is just how bad are the Wildcats? It would obviously lead to another coaching vacancy with Stoops being let go.
Yeah.
Despite in this game, despite not having their top three running backs and top wide receiver, who were all injured, Louisville racked up 440 yards on the Wildcats. This is with what is that, fourth string running back, and without their top wide receiver, it's just wild. They had two 100-yard rushers, Braxton Jennings with 113 yards on the ground, and Shane Boykins Jr. with 101 yards. It just blows my mind.
Yep.
So, as an SEC fan, this one was just tough to watch. Obviously, Kentucky thought this is the last straw. We have to make some changes. But Jesse, did you have any
I mean,
thoughts?
that's huge, right? Because Kentucky is one of those places where we've said it before. If you just middle of the road it, they're
Yep.
fine. They're not expecting to go to the SEC championship every year. They're not expecting a natty in football. And
Right.
so it's a very comfortable job as long as you're mediocre. And we thought Stoops had it. I mean, thus far he's had it. They've had some flashes in the pan where they've been a lot better than we expected. But for them to fire him, it's been a bad season.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been bad.
Yeah, it's not great when that happens. So, and we'll talk about the replacement momentarily. First, let's talk about the Palmetto Bowl, Clemson at South Carolina. Clemson winning this one 28-14. Matt got the point here. This one was actually close, even in the third quarter, but Clemson's Ricardo Jones picked off Lenoris Sellers late in the fourth quarter, his second interception of the game, Jones that is, and really put this game away. Yeah, Clemson getting the upper hand on South Carolina here. Jesse, you have any thoughts?
4 turnovers for South Carolina. One
Can
for
take care of that
11.
ball.
1 for 11.
That's
On third.
abysmal.
This it just and this will show Clemson maybe how bad their program is currently. With all of that, Clemson still barely won. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's that friends in the state of South Carolina, whether you are Clemson, whether you are South Carolina, are y'all okay?
It was rough.
You
It was
okay?
a rough one.
Just you know what? Just look forward to Christmas. Just let it go.
That's right. Because, well, I mean, South Carolina, one of the few SEC teams this year not making a change at coach so far. I mean, we still
So
have time.
far,
We
I
still have
think the
time.
dust has to settle. We got to figure out where everybody's going
Right.
and
Who's left?
who
The
else
musical
they can
chairs.
ask to dance because this is a middle school dance at this point.
Yeah.
And the hot girl has been asked. She has accepted a dance. And now everyone else is just trying to get the courage to ask somebody. And unfortunately, South Carolina is a little bit of a nerd right now, and they're having to wait to see who's left.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. Let's talk about the Turkey Sandwich Bowl. It's not really called that. We call it that because it's just fun. LSU at Oklahoma. Oklahoma winning this one 17-13. Look, if Oklahoma knows how to do anything, it's how to grind out a hard-fought defensive win, right? That's exactly what they did here. So most games where your quarterback throws three picks result in a loss. But that Oklahoma defense stood up and made it difficult for LSU's offense to do anything. LSU with only 198 total yards on the day on offense. So, with this win, Oklahoma, barring some wild change of heart later by the committee, because as of right now, they're looking good. They have locked up a playoff spot. So, Jesse, do you have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, again, this was another one where I think Oklahoma super locked in. Their defense that we've talked about quite a bit stepped up where they needed to. This is another low scoring game circa 2011, but they are in the college football playoff. And I'm sure our Oklahoma fans of last 2 years, I mean, they probably did not expect to be here. And this is huge for them. LSU, I I don't want to say they didn't care, but I'm just going to say they also had a reason to be very distracted.
Oh yeah, and yeah, for sure. This was a very Brent Venables win, I would
Yes.
say,
Yes,
the style of game. So
absolutely.
for Oklahoma. So let's move to Vanderbilt at Tennessee. Vandy winning this one 45 to
Matt
24.
did not skip the podcast
This
just
is
because of
not.
this.
Matt had
Promise.
day job obligations. He is not missing the show because of this.
He is well.
He is
He
well.
is physically well.
Yes. Uh, Tennessee, I mean, honestly, they had a pretty good day on offense, but they just couldn't stop Vandy on defense. Anytime they'd commit to stopping Pavia on the ground, he'd, stop and complete a pass for a big gain. And when they committed to covering the pass, he'd gash them for a long run. So, I mean, that happened a bunch of times in this one. And after a while, Tennessee just couldn't keep up. So, I've talked to a few Tennessee fans, and the defense is going to need a drastic overhaul. Even with the
Yes.
personnel that was out with injury this year, there is a feeling that the scheme just isn't there. So, more to follow there. Not really sure if there's been any moves. I'm unaware of any, but we'll see what happens. Jesse, do you have any thoughts on this one?
I First of all, if you are a volunteer fan, do not call for Heupel's head. All right. I know this is tough. I know it's bad, but I'm gonna ask the same question that we've asked every program, I feel like, this season. Who are you gonna get? Who are you gonna get? Who are
Right.
you gonna get? At this point, who would you get? You're not gonna get anybody. I'm telling you, you're not. This is a historic season for Vanderbilt. This win secured Vanderbilt's first ever 10-win season and their highest scoring game against Tennessee since 1923. It's the first win against Tennessee since 2018. So a lot of history happened for Vanderbilt here. You've already mentioned Diego Pavia's performance and the fact that Tennessee just could not put together a second half. I mean, they couldn't. And we've seen that a little bit, right? Throughout the season, their inability to just finish games. And that's plagued them quite a bit. But I'm going to say it. And to the three Vanderbilt fans, I know you're going to be mad. I am so sick of Diego Pavia. I'm sorry, but the take me to New York, take me and my 80 friends and family to New York, and the TikTok dances and everything. I just Lions don't have to tell you they're lying.
Well, it doesn't seem that Vanderbilt's going to have much drop off next year because five-star quarterback commit who had been committed to Georgia, Jared Curtis,
Mhm.
flipped his commitment to Vanderbilt today. So,
And I want to be excited for Vanderbilt. Like I have nothing against Vanderbilt, even having lost to them last year. I have no animosity towards Vanderbilt.
right.
I just if their quarterback was just a little bit more humble and his family didn't get arrested at games, two fingers. Behave yourself, y'all. Act like you've been there before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't.
I'm really curious. Of course, yeah, at the same time, I realize that they're riding this moment right now because
Yes.
I'm not saying that he's not going to work out in the NFL, but odds are
Not.
he
He's
probably
not. He's too
won't.
short.
Of course,
He's too short.
he's proven people wrong many times before, and it could happen again, but odds are he may not do
Odds
well.
are he will not work out in the NFL. He is, I mean, yes, we see Kyler Murray does it mildly successfully, but he is very short
Yeah.
for a quarterback. And I honestly don't know that his attitude would translate well to the NFL and his what seems to be inability to spread the ball around.
Yeah.
Uh, and his need to
Definitely
just
won't be
do it
able to
all
do it all by
himself.
himself.
You can't. I don't know how an NFL coach would handle him.
Yeah.
I just don't think they they would put up with all the antics.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Go get the payday.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's talk about the battle line rivalry, Missouri at Arkansas. Mizzou winning this one 31-17. Matt got the point here. For Arkansas, both Taylon Green and KJ Jackson played in this one. Neither one was able to get much done against that Missouri defense. On the flip side, Missouri didn't even need to pass the ball. If you look at the stats, with Pribula only passing for 25 yards, but as a team, they rushed for 322 yards with 200-yard rushers in the game. Ahmad Hardy with 157 and Jamal Roberts with 100. So I think with that, Arkansas is winless in the conference. So, Jesse, your thoughts on this one?
I mean, this one went exactly how we anticipated it to go,
I
unfortunately.
picked Arkansas like a doofus, but it's just
I
because
know.
I wanted the chaos. I was like, we got to have some excitement for rivalry week, but it didn't pan out.
You had the hope. That was sweet.
hmm Um, Next is the Sunshine Showdown. Florida
Was it
State.
sunny?
Yeah. Florida State at Florida. Florida winning this one 40 to 21. Nobody got the point here. I mean, I guess if you want to see what was the difference maker in this game, you only need to look at Jaden Baugh with
Yeah.
266 yards and 2 touchdowns on 38 carries, which that blows my mind even more than the yards, I think. The number of 38 carries, I mean, you want to talk about a workhorse. I guess he definitely needed to soak in that ice bath a little bit longer that day, I think.
Mhm.
So this is just the definition of controlling the line of scrimmage, which, typically tells you how the game is going to go. So I just can't believe how bad this FSU team is after looking so good in that opener against Alabama.
I know, I know. I think they said they finished 5-7 and will miss a bowl game for the second consecutive year. And they've committed to their coach, which is also
Hmm.
very interesting to me. But you mentioned Jaden Baugh and his career high 266 yards and 2 touchdowns, which is the second most rushing yards in a single game in UF's program history. So
Oh, wow.
huge night, and doing that against an in-state rival is crazy.
Yeah.
It's yeah, this was a weird one, right? Like DJ Lagway had a good outing. He was complimenting Jaden Baugh's rushing success. And FSU's quarterback, Tommy Castellanos, he threw for 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, and also added 77 rushing yards. But it just wasn't enough. This is not an ACC podcast, but it's not going well for FSU. And Florida's still looking for a coach. Maybe this rivalry win will help them recruit a coach.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely excited to talk about all those very soon. So, and then the final game for rivalry week, the Iron Bowl, Alabama at Auburn. Bama winning this one 27 to 20. I got the point here. And look, I'm ticked because I missed it by like 1 point. I think I said
No.
I said 27 to 21, I think, and it ended up being 27-20. So, Jesse, what you got on this one?
I have heart palpitations and anxiety, and I was saying it all week, all week. I did not like the vibes of this game. As soon as it started, I did not like the vibes. I do not like playing in that place. I do not like it. I do not like being there. Okay.
It's haunted.
But it's just a bad place. Um, a couple a couple thoughts. I I've talked about Ty Simpson before very positively. And I don't want to malign him at all, because obviously if you're playing starting quarterback at the University of Alabama, you're doing something right. But he's got to be better. As we go into SEC championship, as we hopefully, go into the playoffs, he's got to be better, because this is starting to feel like a weekly thing. He looked, if you every time they zoomed in on his face, he looked so unprepared and scared. And like, I get it, that's a very loud, vitriolic place to play as an Alabama player, but it just it was very evident that he looked a little bit shaky. Now, I'm not saying it's all his fault, because our line did not hold very well, and sometimes he only had 3 seconds to get rid of the ball, but he just wasn't making the reads that he needed to. He did show up when it was most important. I mean, we had what is a kind of gutsy call by Kalen DeBoer to go for it on 4th and 2.
I was going to ask you what you
Yeah,
thought about that call.
Auburn 7-yard line. I mean, I'm like holding my breath, because to me, I'm just like, oh my God, we could get the field goal. It's almost guaranteed points.
Right.
But DeBoer wanted to put the faith back into Simpson, and he was able to prove him right. So that one made me want to throw up a lot. But ever since the South Carolina game, I don't think Ty Simpson has really looked like what we had started to see him develop into. And I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's the pressure getting to him as we continue on the season and they're winning. And I don't know, but whatever it is, it has to get fixed quickly. He was 19 for 35 and only 122 yards, which is a season low. And there were throws that he could have made, he should have made, and he just didn't. I don't know. The run game finally started to get going, which was a little bit exciting. It's nowhere near what we want, but it had some life. We had Jam Miller, who looked really good all game. He ran for 83 yards, 5.5 yards per carry, and then unfortunately later was on crutches. So that's not great. We don't like that, but Daniel Hill was able to generate some steam there. So again, we're getting some things coming. I think our defense is really showing life, and our defense is the one that's kind of keeping us alive. We're seeing some throwback Bama as far as our defense being the one that's really keeping us there. But two standouts on defense were Nikai Hill-Green and then safety Bray Hubbard. I mean, I can't say enough about Bray Hubbard. If you watch the highlights, he's great. So we did not see a lot out of Ryan Williams, which is very, very interesting because we're just not seeing a lot of him this season. He was out there a couple of times, but it's been an underwhelming season for him, and I'm not sure what's going on there. So I'm interested to see that. But I think this game was exactly what a seasoned Alabama fan would expect. So many people would say, well, how do you get that close against an unranked Auburn team? It does not matter. It truly does not matter
Oh
where
yeah.
any are in the rankings. It's going to be a hard fought game, especially if it's in Jordan Hare. And I think Alabama has hopefully taken notes and seen what we need to clean up, because Auburn very well could have, and at some point should have, run away with this.
Oh yeah, I felt like Auburn played themselves into really good positions and then
Yes.
allowed, I don't know if undisciplined play is the word, to just negate all that hard work that they'd done. I mean, I feel like there are many situations where they could have made a stop or they could have made a really good play, but a penalty just killed them,
Yeah.
or some other mistake like that. And I guess that's another reason why they've struggled this year. I mean, yeah, I mean they have a lot of talent it seems, but then
Mhm.
some of those fundamentals kind of negate all that. So. Um, Pick'em standings. I've got 44. Jesse has 37. Matt has 36.
How did Matt creep back up in here?
I
Just
know,
that.
right? We're getting to those games that count more, so it's getting interesting. So, um, all right, let's hand out helmet stickers. Jesse, what are yours?
Mine are on theme for this week. Anyone who has made a funny Lane Kiffin meme, you get a helmet sticker, because it has been so entertaining to watch all of this from someone who is not a fan of either program. And it's just brought me so much joy to see all of the content being made. But on the flip side, I do want to give helmet stickers to quite literally every player on Ole Miss's team, because they won their rivalry game when there was so much buzz around their program, around their coach leaving.
Right.
And I think they've handled this as well as they could have. And I also, and we'll talk about it in the interview, I think these are the ones that are getting the shorthand of the stick, right? We can complain all we want as fans that when a coach leave, it hurts us and we can't believe this is happening. But at the end of the day, that coach made a promise to those players. Their university made them a promise and is supposed to be advocating for these student athletes. And I don't know that anybody in this situation that is an adult did a really great job of that. And so I just commend these players for kind of taking it on the chin. And I hope that if they want to stay at Ole Miss, they stay at Ole Miss. And if they don't, then I hope they find a home at a different university. But my helmet sticker goes out to all of those young men, because they could have played very distracted and they didn't.
Absolutely. And you're talking about those memes. Obviously, it's been
So good.
much mentioned about the journalist who said you can't make a hoe into a housewife. You remember
Woo!
that one?
I mean, if he hasn't just like signed some sort of like trademark, I don't know, he should.
Well, did you see some talking about memes? Somebody made the word hoe Heaux.
Yes. Yes.
I was like,
I I am telling you, those are going to be the shirts that you see in Oxford,
oh,
Mississippi
a
next
hundred
season
percent.
when
It's gonna be
LSU
everywhere.
comes to town. They're going to be everywhere.
Yeah. Oh man. My helmet stickers are Jaden Ball. We talked about that.
Yeah.
Running the ball 38 times for 266 yards and two touchdowns. Just amazing. And then I got to give because I have been very critical of the Georgia defense this year, and deservedly so. But they really bailed us out when we couldn't seem to find the end zone on Saturday. So I'll give a helmet sticker to the Georgia defense there. So we talked about the coaching carousel or gravitron, or what did you call it? What ride
The
was it?
zipper.
The zipper? Yeah. So whatever it is, it's the insanity going on there. Let's talk about that real quick.
Here's the news.
All right, so obviously that is what is dominating our news segment here, and I'm not going to go into each one of these in detail,
Too
but
much.
we will list them because it's worth mentioning. And that is first up, Auburn filled their coaching vacancy with Alex Golesh, USF. Obviously, Arkansas filled their vacancy with Ryan Silverfield from Memphis. Florida got John Summerall from Tulane. Obviously, LSU got Lane Kiffin. We'll talk about that more in depth with our guest shortly. And because of that, Ole Miss filled their vacancy with Pete Golding. Needs no introduction to you, Jesse, I know.
Careful there, friends.
And then, not to be left out, Kentucky fires Mark Stoops, as we talked about that, and has hired Will Stein, Oregon's offensive coordinator.
Yep.
So that's a lot of stuff there. Other than Lane Kiffin, obviously we've talked about that a lot. Are there any of these that stick out to you? Are there any that you think are maybe not a good fit? Some that you're like, oh yeah, that absolutely
I
works.
mean, I don't think Pete Golding's a good fit,
Yeah, and
but
I
that's just because
distinctly
I can't
remember
stand
when
it.
he was the DC at Bama and your weekly
Bill O'Brien
diatribes
and
about
Pete
him.
Golding. I will never forget those men's name. I no, I mean better them than us. Anybody can have them, but I don't think that Ole Miss, especially given the success that they've had with Lane Kiffin, I don't think that Pete Golding's going to last long. I don't think he's the answer here. I think he's just a temporary band-aid regardless. I don't, they didn't have time to actually find
Yeah.
somebody. Um, I, one of the hires that I think is going to be really interesting to watch is John Summerall from Tulane going to Florida. I I think he's seen a lot of success at Tulane, and it's going to be he's coached, like you said, at Ole Miss, at Kentucky as well. So he's used to the SEC, and I hope for the sake of Florida that he's the guy that can turn this program around.
Have you seen his press conference though?
I have not.
It's a little cringe. You should check it
Oh
out.
no.
And apparently,
Why?
one of his selling points was that Lane Kiffin co-signed that he should go to Florida,
Oh Lord of
which is a
mercy.
little bit of an odd flex when you're at the school and saying that you're there because oh yeah, Lane said I should come here. It's
My mom said I should date you. Like what? No.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it could be completely wrong. It was kind of like when Napier arrived, and you're like, I don't know. This kind of has those same vibes, almost like it's the same thing, but
Yeah.
could be
I
completely
think
wrong.
I think Ryan Silverfield from Memphis to Arkansas is an interesting hire. I was surprised just because I hadn't heard much about, who Arkansas was going to get.
They bungled it. They could have had
Yeah,
Golesh, I think, and then they
I
announced
think
it
they
too
could have
early,
too. I
and then he
think
was
they
like,
could have,
"Whoa, wait a minute."
but it we'll see. I mean, Memphis has been they play some
Hmm.
decent football, so we'll see.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by Will Stein at Kentucky because
Yes.
obviously he's an offensive mind,
Mhm.
and I don't know. It's just it would be interesting to see because we've seen how things have been done at Kentucky consistently for what was it, 13 years now with
To say
Stoops?
Stoops has been there for, a very long time. So the Kentucky that we know is the Mark Stoops Kentucky, and
Right.
I don't know what they'll look like with someone
Be
else.
very interesting to see what that new look Kentucky is going to be
And
like.
they
So
play different football on the West Coast.
that's right. Um, and then the new CFP rankings came out tonight. Number one, Ohio State. Number two, Indiana. Number three, Georgia. Number four, Texas Tech. Number five, Oregon. Number six, Ole Miss. Obviously, they didn't drop very much because that was a point that the committee considers is whether there's personnel changes that might affect things, and obviously they didn't think it would too much. A&M at number seven, Oklahoma at number eight, Alabama at number nine. Number 10, Notre Dame. And then obviously this could change depending on who the conference champions are. But right now, as it stands, number 11, which would be conference champion number 4, sliding into that slot would be Virginia. And then number 12, conference champion number 5, Tulane would slide in there at number
The
12.
ACC is just causing a ruckus
Hmm.
right now because nobody in the ACC is great. And so it's just wild. I watched an entire video on like how the ACC is doing and why the perfect storm has brewed over there and how we're going to get somebody that has like a 7 and something record is going to end up in the CFP.
Right.
It's just wild. ACC, we need you to do better.
Yeah, so obviously Championship Saturday is going to shake things up a little bit with those, but it's an interesting listing there. So,
Like Miami is outside looking in Virginia. It's just everything's wild.
right? Yeah,
Everything
that's
is wild.
crazy.
Duke really screwed everything up for the ACC.
Oh man, yeah, oh my gosh. All right, well, let's take a quick break from the madness and we'll come back with our interview with Mike from Pot of Gold. All right, well, obviously, Lane Kiffin is the topic on pretty much everyone's mind today in college football. So, what better person to talk to than someone who is in the midst of the fandom that's probably the most excited right now, and that is the LSU Tigers. So, fortunately, we know a guy. It's Mike from Pod of Gold, and we've had him on the show before. So, I'm really looking forward to diving into all things surrounding this whole coaching situation at LSU. So, welcome back, Mike.
Happy to be here. What's going on, Wes, Jesse? Pretty exciting week, that's for sure.
As I say, yes, what's going on? A lot.
That's
Turns
right.
A
out
lot.
everything.
That's
Everything
right.
is going on.
Across college football, but especially in this situation. So let's just get right to it. So obviously, there was a need for a hire at LSU because there was a vacancy. And so let's talk Brian Kelly real briefly. And at what point for you did you know that Brian Kelly was just probably not going to work out there at LSU?
Well, and I know we just mentioned this before we struck up the recording here, but last time I was on this show, I think one of the first questions you asked me was, do you really think Brian Kelly is going to work out? Right? Is he, he started off pretty hot, right? When he came in, an SEC championship appearance, ended up with a Heisman Trophy winner, right? And so clearly there were some signs that this could work, right? And I think that's the biggest difference between where we are last night, right? And I'm like you said, you checked out our recording, appreciate that. But last night it was holy cow, like we do expect this to work. Where when Brian Kelly was hired, it was shocking because it was out of nowhere, but it was more of a mystery of this could work, right? Like
Right.
he's a proven winner, quote unquote, no championships, right? But winning percentage wise. And the theme that everyone likes to say about LSU, well, anyone with half a brain can win a championship at LSU with those kind of players, right? Look at Ed O, look at Les Miles. But so we figured it would work with Brian. There was fractures. You could see there was some stuff that kind of started, honestly, kind of after our pod that season, right? He wasn't, and it was a good question that you asked me because there's so many different signs that I can pinpoint. One of which, he stopped knowing the players' names in a lot of interviews. I caught
Ooh.
on to that, and he's a very much a polished politician, right? Brian
Absolutely.
Kelly, he speaks very clean. He tells you what you want to hear, and he makes you feel like he's very smart and he knows what he's talking about. But then he twists up names, and this is like year 3, where it's like this guy's been in your program for 3 years, and you're calling him a completely different name, and not even pulling like the Les Miles tactic of just throwing out numbers instead of names. He just didn't know it,
Yep.
right? But really, the glaring issue, in my opinion, was when Mike Denbrock went to Notre Dame as the offensive coordinator after Jaden Daniels gets drafted. He elevates Joe Sloan as the offensive coordinator. Instead of doing a search, he elevates Joe Sloan. And the buzz internally was always, well, this is because we have Bryce Underwood committed, right? You had Bryce Underwood on the line. Joe Sloan apparently was his, the main reason. It wasn't Brian Kelly. It was mainly Joe Sloan and his quarterback development. But at the end of the day, it was very apparent Mike Denbrock was the key to success with Brian Kelly when it comes to that offense. But then again, he didn't change again. A year goes by with a decent offense with Nussmeier the year before. But there was no organization. There was inconsistencies. There was no aggressiveness. Everything we thought we would get with Brian Kelly after a few seasons, when you go back and look at Notre Dame, we expected the offensive line to be very disciplined, without mistakes, setting the line of scrimmage, having a solid running game, et cetera. And it was just the complete opposite. And especially after Mike Denbrock left, and then you go into this season and it's like, you put no effort into finding a top offensive coordinator to replace Joe Sloan, even after Bryce Underwood flipped to Michigan, right? And it was kind of like, we know the reason why he's still the OC because of Bryce. Now Bryce is gone. What are we doing? Right? There's kind of a lack of effort. And so his whole theme was about alignment, right? We have to have this alignment, right? This is a guy that came to LSU preaching alignment that had the worst offense in the history of our school, the worst defense in the history of our school, a Heisman Trophy winner, an SEC championship appearance, and none of it was aligned at the same time. And so it was very much, it was those things, right, where it became evident this guy's mailing it in, right? He's not recruiting. He's going on vacations during the off periods, et cetera, where everyone else is recruiting. You can just tell he was starting to go through the motions. And finally, the last thing was after the Florida game, when Michael Cobble, one of the reporters, asked him point blank, what's going on with the running game? And that's when he lost it, right? He's we won the game. You remember that? He's like, we won the game. What do you expect from me? When he said that, in those words, what do you want from me? I knew he was buckling under the it was over for him. He didn't want to deal with this anymore, but he's not walking away from that contract. So we're screwed, right? And so that's when I knew there will be a change. It needs to happen immediately. We need to bite the bullet here. How are we going to do it? I have no idea, but it has to be done.
Right. Well, so biting the bullet leads to my next question. What are your thoughts on how that whole firing went down? Obviously, there was a situation where he was told he was going to be terminated, but it didn't officially happen. I assume they were looking for some cause there. And then when they didn't find any, then they finally officially announced that he was terminated without cause.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack with that situation. And I think it starts with the tumultuous relationship between Governor Landry and Scott Woodward. They've never liked each other, and it goes back to political alignment. And that had a lot to do with it from the beginning. And I think Governor Landry as we all know, the Board of Supervisors reports to the governor. The Board of Supervisors appoints an athletic director. They appoint a president, and the president, can obviously pick an athletic director. There was a void with the presidency when Tate left for Rutgers. So we didn't have a president until last month, right? So it was an opportunity for Landry to get rid of Scott Woodward because there was political stuff going on there. But at the same time, he was not happy with the fact that he locked in Brian Kelly to this contract, and the results on the field were very poor, right? Yeah. I mean, whether we want to admit it or not, the revenue that this sport brings to Louisiana as a whole is very important to the economy. As crazy as that sounds, right? And I think, and you guys know it, we're SEC fans here, so we all understand the importance of it. Yeah. But for Louisiana, there's no real competition with it, right? Mm-hmm. So the minute you're not producing and you're walking out onto that field and you've got suites empty and half of the stadium is emptying out, et cetera, it's not going to work out. So I think the Scott situation with Governor Landry started that. Scott wanted to get out in front of it. And so he fires Brian Kelly without the permission of the board. And so that was an excuse for now Landry to step in and say, wait, we didn't give you approval to do that. The board did not approve that. You're out. And so since he was out and fired, technically Brian Kelly wasn't actually fired yet. And
Right.
so that's where we had to backtrack and say, okay, let's come up with a solution here, because now there's a lawsuit, right? Because we screwed that up because of Scott Woodward. So at the end of the day, I think everyone wanted Brian Kelly gone. Scott jumped the gun, and because of that, got himself fired. But in the end, I think everybody came together, and this is why we ended up with Lane Kiffin, was because we were able to get President Rouse on board. He promotes Verge Osbury, who essentially, and it's very, very widely known today after the reports came out, but Saban and Verge are very close. I mean, like, this is a guy that was around when we hired Nick originally. And so he leans in on him. All the crazy, the idiotic rumors about Saban returning to coach was not, obviously it was very fabricated, but it was very true that he was working with Saban to assist him in this search.
Right.
That is a fact. And they have met together about that. And there was people on the message boards, and you have to imagine the amount of content that this brain has had to siphon through. Some of it absolutely nonsense. Some of it, I've got legit people sending me messages who, that work in the ops building, that work in government. Saban was helping with Verge, right? And it wasn't just go get Lane Kiffin. It was, this is how you need to approach this. Here's a list of names. These are the guys that you could probably trust with this transition. So,
Gotcha.
so that spoke volumes to the new president, right? And I think Landry, the governor, was not, and we can go on about his accent and how he may have sabotaged this, that, and the other. What he said, though, had some truth in it, right? You can't give this type of contract without incentives. Why are we just dropping $100 million on somebody that hasn't proved anything to us yet? Let's win some championships. Let's build out. Let's give you 100 mil, but let's incentivize it, right? Let's be a little more strategic in this than just, hey, we got a white whale. We pulled in the whale and he's here.
Right.
And I think Verge and the board were able to come in alignment with that. He talked about it yesterday, how we had donors that have been remaining idle for years, that were waiting for some type of alignment, that are now ponying up. So that's how that transpired. And so I think it worked out in the end. A little chaotic for sure in the beginning. But I think the power of the brand, especially with that third party NIL world that we're in right now, it all aligned perfectly because they trust the direction and trust who we're putting our eggs and what basket we're putting it in with Lane.
Sure.
Right. And when it comes to constructing a contract, it turns out you kind of lucked out with Lane, because he said he didn't care about the numbers. He said, don't tell don't tell me the numbers. So but seriously though, let's get to the fun questions about Lane. And that is, when we're talking about Lane, what did you think of him before he came to LSU? Obviously you're excited that he's here now, but in terms of observing him from afar before, what were your thoughts on him?
Listen, I'm 35 years old. So Lane Kiffin getting the job at Tennessee at 34, just really, like, going back and looking at the dates, right? Because I was totally invested in college football in 2009 when he took the Tennessee job, right? I was deep into recruiting when he flipped Bryce Brown to go to Tennessee and pulls Jansen Jackson from LSU. Very sneakily, right? Convinces him not to tell LSU until the day of and flips. I mean, that's Lane, right?
Yeah.
A young man that's sneaky, but also very privileged, a guy that got the Raiders job at, right from the jump at 29 or 30 years old because of his dad, right? I think that experience, right, going to Tennessee and sabotaging that situation for his dream job, right? Well, of course, you're 34 years old. Like anybody dream job, USC comes calling, you're probably going to take it and leave Rocky Top. I'm just being honest, right? Especially back then. When that transpired, I think lessons were absolutely learned. At the time, I thought he was a clown that knew how to run an offense, right? And knew how to recruit. And then when he went to Alabama, that's when my perception of him changed. When Nick Saban took him at Alabama and he made him the OC, and honestly, the biggest thing I feel like he learned was how to use his hands when he talks, because it just
Right.
explains everything like Nick. But there was certainly another level of intentionality and kind of professionalism that was developed at Alabama that was very noticeable, but still not someone that I would feel comfortable like, okay, we have to get that guy as a head coach. It was still too soon in that time period. And at that time period, we were looking at, replacing Les with Tom Herman and Jimbo Fisher. And then eventually with the Ed O situation, it was Lincoln Riley. Like Lane was always there, always kind of attainable, but no one wanted to touch him, right? He had to rehab himself. This whole thing was about him rehabbing, right? This whole documentary last year about I'm a different person, I'm doing yoga, I'm healthy. Like that whole thing was to sell himself as being ready for one of these types of jobs. I feel like that's all this was about. Now, when he took the FAU job, it got a little bit better. When he went to Ole Miss, it was a wait and see, right? And clearly, year by year, you saw him building, and he was evolving into more of a stable type of coach that was not, I know that's very ironic based on what just happened this week, but stable in a sense of this guy's not going to leave in a year. This guy is not going to, go 6-6 and fire half his staff and, have a crazy, theatrical, I don't know, just sabotaging a program. I just did not see that happening with Lane. And so I started to certainly want him as a coach eventually. Right. So started off very rocky, very well-defined history with Lane Kiffin, very well documented. It wasn't until recently what he has done at Ole Miss that really solidified he's ready now, right? And I think that's where the perception changed for me as a fan of Lane Kiffin.
Right. So we were talking about kind of observing him. Did you have a feeling that Lane would choose LSU, or were you just as surprised as everybody else when it
I
actually
did
happened?
not. I was certain he was staying at Ole Miss. I mean, I was so
A
certain.
lot of people were.
It was very weird. Short answer, no. Like I thought this was a troll job, right? Like even entertaining it for a couple weeks,
Or smoke screen to try to get more money out of Ole Miss.
more money or just sabotaging a rival. I mean, just playing the game, right? Certainly a guy that has a history of being like, hey, I'm back. I'm the guy, right? Like you thought you forgot about me in Oakland. I'm now the USC coach after I went to Tennessee. I'm back. You forgot about me on the tarmac. Well, I'm now coaching with Saban. I'm back. It was always this I'm back moment. Well, Ole Miss, he did have this I'm back moment by bringing them to this historic season. And so I always felt like that was going to be the flip of the script, right? Where you've got all these suitors of these bigger programs. Florida's coming after you. LSU's coming after you. Obviously, Penn State tried, whatever. He's not going up north anywhere. But I think at the end of the day, I always thought this was going to be him saying, surprise, I'm staying. This is the place to be. Everyone wants me. Why don't you come join me at Ole Miss? That was my perception. When it got to a point where the bye week happened and all the chatter was still going on, it's like, this is hurting Ole Miss now. This is to a point where like, this is not benefiting his program. Something's going on. Like this might be a reality. And then once that became a reality, the conversation switched to, well, how does Ole Miss actually keep him? And in my opinion, the way you keep him, they screwed that up, in my opinion. You either let him go during the bye week because it's too much of a distraction and start prepping. I don't think Golding was their top target, right? Like they could have had Summerall, right?
Right.
But they didn't move, right? And so if you're not going to move, then wait it out, right? If you know that at the end of the day, you might get left with nothing and you're going to have to go to Golding at the end of the day, you might have a championship out of it, right? But instead, and also you either have a championship out of it and you're left with Golding because Lane leaves, or you have a championship out of it and Lane, as the emotional person he is, decides to stay. Like, how could I turn, like I did it, right? I think in his head, he might not think this team is capable of actually running the table in the playoffs, right? I don't think he truly believes that with this team. And I don't think it's sustainable. I think that's what he was looking for, was sustainability. Where is kind of the easier path for me to sustain this type of success? And I think that's where LSU entered the picture with the NIL contribution.
Right. That makes sense. And I don't have this on the list there, but it kind of leads me to think, do you think that Ole Miss might just sort of drop off right now with him gone? Do you think they'll kind of go back to the Ole Miss that we kind of knew before?
Someone who's not a Golding fan, yes.
Yes.
I knew Jesse would.
Not a fan.
Zero confidence.
Yes.
I feel very bad for Ole Miss. I really do. Like, I'm not just saying that sitting in my tower this week that we got Lane Kiffin.
Right.
Coming from somebody that went through years of watching Nick Saban dominate at Alabama and just having to just suck it up and be like, you know what? That could have been us, right? If he didn't test the waters of the Dolphins. But it's not. And we're owned. You know, it was 8 years in a row that we couldn't beat him, right? We had him a couple times during that span that he coached, but at the end of the day, it was complete dominance. And we were very much yearning for that. Ole Miss got a taste of that. They didn't get the hardware, right? But they saw the light at the end of the tunnel that maybe we could get that hardware, right?
Yeah.
And now they don't. And he's at LSU, right? Like, LSU always talks about, we don't really have a true rival, right? It was Alabama at a time because of Nick Saban. When Nick Saban left, it's really not a true rival, right? A&M tries to manufacture it, right? That's not really a true rival. Ole Miss is the rival. It just was never really competitive. Now it's going to be very heated. It is an absolute rivalry, and I totally get it. But the way it all went down, I can't imagine being an Ole Miss fan right now because, to your point, no. I don't think they come close to how they have been the last couple seasons. Golding is not the answer. I understand they have this big persona about, you know, the Grove Collective, and they can pull any player that they want because they have a good NIL situation going on. Lane innovated the portal. He tapped into that in a time where Nick was more of, I'm out on this. Like, this new generation of football, I'm not really with that. I dominated the real world of college football. Yeah. Now that it's NFL light, right? And free agency, I could probably do this if I was 10 years younger. I'm not dealing with this right now. Lane's dealing with it, and he decided to shape what it means at Ole Miss, right? And then he knew what he needed to actually sustain that. And that was a blue blood level of a program that is all in, that you don't have to beg to come to games, that you don't have to bitch in press conferences about people not being excited, right? Like, I think there was things that you could have seen as Ole Miss fans. That's like, this isn't forever, right? And make no mistake, as an LSU fan that just got Lane Kiffin, we know this is not forever. Like, it'd be awesome if he stuck around for a while, but no one's going to be crying because Lane Kiffin leaves us. It's kind of inevitable at this point. Do I think he's going to leave us for another college job? I'd be surprised. But if that happens, I feel like it's because he's still winning. And that means we did something right while he was here. So I'm excited about that.
Right.
That's the point.
Well, it's a shame Matt's not here for this question. He's our Tennessee fan on the pod. But there are many who say that this decision to leave Ole Miss is even worse than when he up and left Tennessee, obviously. And he didn't tell his players face to face. We've seen guys post TikToks about that and et cetera. And so he's leaving right in the middle of a playoff and possible championship run, obviously. When he left Tennessee, they were, I think, 8-4 that year, and they weren't even in the running. So, you know, this one is a little bit more of a blow. So do you think the criticism is fair of his decision to up and leave, or is that just a knee-jerk reaction and just a reality of what we're dealing with?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think the knee-jerk reaction is it's a very easy talking point. I mean, if you want to talk about drama, right, in this sport, it's right now. Like, this is it, right? It is setting up cameras at the airport. It is
People brought their babies to the airport. to
Yeah.
yell F you at Lane Kiffin. I mean,
It was crazy. But like that's part of the passion. And Lane talked about that as part of the passion of this sport. And I think people on the outside are clinging to talking points, whether it affects them or not. Half of these people that are crying in the media don't care about Ole Miss. They just
Right.
want to talk about something, right? They want to pile on Lane. On the flip side, I really don't think Lane was allowed to talk to the players because you had a meeting set up at 9 a.m. on Sunday, a players meeting that was announced. Thamel put that out the night before. The night before, and Lane confirmed this in his press conference, he gave the information to Keith Carter that he's leaving, right? Like that was the final. I do think the Bama Auburn situation drug that out a little bit longer. And
I
what a
agree.
mental pretzel I was in that night.
I
Like,
agree.
like sitting there rooting for Bama for the first time in my life, and then being like, "Holy cow, Auburn's going to pull this off! Like, what is happening right now?"
Right.
But fun game nonetheless. It was very entertaining. But that night, he's leaving. Right? Press conference, not press conference. Team meeting set at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. rolls around, and it's now moved to 1 o'clock. Right? They were not allowing him to have his cake and eat it too. They were very pissed off at the situation. You're out of here. You're not talking to any players because we know you're going to meet with staff. You're going to take players, take staff, etc. They didn't want any extra sliver of, hey, come with me to LSU type of situation occurring with Lane Kiffin. So the planes to pick him up were sent at the time that they announced this new team meeting time at 1 o'clock. So that, if you kind of piece it together, that was a decision made by Ole Miss to not allow him to that meeting at 9 o'clock and push it. So I get he didn't talk to the team. Could he have forced his way to it and said, no, I'm having my own meeting with my guys? Sure. You know what I mean? But I think at the end of the day, he was probably like, I'm trying, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to go out of my way to stir this up anymore. I'm out of here. Does it suck? Yeah. Is it worse than it was at Tennessee? Absolutely. Because this is a team that was humming right now and a team that got better and better. Like when I first started watching Ole Miss this season, I thought good offense as always, because it's Lane, but that defense is soft. That not that mattered to us because our offense can't move the ball on anybody. It doesn't matter. But in any other season, looking at that defense on film, I hate saying film, like I'm breaking stuff down. Watching Ole Miss games, you could see that there was major flaws. They got better and better and better. And I think they're peaking at the right time. That's what hurts. And I think that is the dagger for the Ole Miss fans. It's not, you didn't say goodbye and you're going to LSU. It's, will we ever see this level of caliber football from both sides of our team any longer? And I don't think that's the case.
And I think it's hard too, because Lane is known as a coach for the players, right? Like everybody talks about how invested he is in his players, how he backs his players up. And I mean, I saw it at Alabama. He's all in on them. And he does invest time and effort into them on and off the field. And so I have to imagine, because again, these are kids, right? Like they're 22 years old at most, sometimes 18 to 22. They're probably not thinking super logically about and thinking about the fact that this meeting got moved. And so maybe the university is doing this. To them, it just feels like abandonment. And that's gotta feel really tough after someone just pours into you.
Right.
And then I think Saban said it best. I think it was yesterday when he was being asked about the situation. And he said, at the end of the day, it should be about the student athletes and the players. And whether that's how Lane handled it, how the University of Mississippi handled it, whoever handled it, they weren't thinking about the players. And that's the issue. It's not like, yes, as fans, we get upset, right? We're going to be upset, but we're going to be okay. Because whether or not our football team wins, not going to affect our lives that much. But for those young men, it does affect their lives a lot. Yeah. And nobody took their point of view and kept them at the forefront of it. And that's, I think, the biggest issue, is because the adults in the situation all failed them.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. And I think Lane, Lane started putting some of that out there before he officially announced he was leaving, right? Like every press conference you could watch, there was a couple times where he kind of broke and was like,
Yeah.
you guys do understand no one on this offense is from Mississippi. Like we had to pull people from everywhere. Like there's no allegiance to Ole Miss with
No.
these kids, right? A lot of it has to do with this scheme, with me, right? And all of that. And it's a different world. And he painted this picture. He said, this is a different college than you and I kind of grew up in, where they're, bleeding the colors of the school. They can up and leave whenever they want, right? So they're invested in year to year. So it's not about me and it's about them in this experience this season. He's saying all that leading up to his departure, because I think he knew there's a strong possibility I'm not going to be here next year. I don't know for sure. I don't want to think about that at the moment, but it's a strong possibility because I have all these suitors, etc. But that's not going to matter to these kids, even if it's announced and I'm coaching them in the playoffs. Sure, there can be a handful of them that are going to be pissed and there's going to be resentment. But Trinidad Chambliss, Kiwan Lacey, like the dogs of that team that are the determining factor of if they win games or not, they came there from schools because they wanted the success of this season, regardless of where Lane's going to be next year. Right. And so I think that's the point that Ole Miss lost out on, was you could have, it would have been an eyesore. And that's why they didn't let it happen, was you can't let a rival coach your team in the playoffs. Absolutely. And it's the timing of signing day tomorrow, right? The portal opening in early January. Like, of course he's going to be recruiting. And so there's going to be issues there. You could have made it work if it was, to your point, about the players. And it wasn't. Yeah. It was.
And we all need to do better. I mean, everybody, whether it's, there's got to be more rules put into play.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there just has to be announcing new hires, getting coaches that are coaching. It's just, we've got to figure something out to make it better for the players.
Well, and I think we talked about this last night. Like how is Lane going to destroy this one? Right. And my thought is the only way, in my opinion, that Lane goes south at LSU is if they actually get control of the rules, right? And they actually start setting some parameters over NIL and transfer portal. And like, until that happens, Lane's going to dominate with this. Like he knows how to do this. He'll go behind the scenes. He'll do whatever it takes to build the best roster and win immediately. The minute rules start falling in place, I think that's where Lane's going to start bending, getting in trouble. Like that's how it's going to go south at LSU for Lane. In the system it's in right now, this is what he's made for. And so I do think there needs to be way more rules, way more regulation. I understand it's more competitive now, and you can have an Indiana and you can have a Vanderbilt be competitive, but are they really winning the whole thing? No. It's really just getting them into the dance. It's entertaining, etc. There needs to be stricter rules.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what Ole Miss does, because the penultimate rankings came out tonight and they are number 6. So apparently the committee doesn't think it's going to affect them too much, but we'll see.
He sent Weiss back. I don't know if you saw that. So the offensive coordinator, Weiss, who they destroyed on the tarmac as well, it was sent back to coach the playoffs. And Lane put out that statement. He talked to the committee, he talked to the playoff committee, et cetera, hoping that gesture would, be an olive branch in a sense of, hey, wow, this offense is not going to stumble too much. Charlie's going back. Right. I also think that might have something to do with Charlie maybe taking another job as a head coach. I know USF has offered him a position, et cetera. He did sign a deal with LSU yesterday. So it's very interesting how all that's working out. That's kind of a mess right now.
That's wild.
Shuffling a staff together. Blake Baker is interviewing at Tulane, although he's committed to staying at LSU. So now recruits are kind of like, who's going to be our defensive coordinator? We're excited that Lane's coaching the offense, but
Lane's an offense guy.
Right. Who's coaching our defense? Like Blake Baker's a dog, and we have a lot of guys, and we have the number 1 player in the country committed to us out of Baton Rouge. That's a defensive tackle. right? They're all tonight kind of wary about who's coming in. And so there's a lot of issues right now with that. I think it's our first issue of the
Right.
Kiffin era is the timing of this. It's not perfect for us either, putting
Right.
a staff together and keeping these players. The portal helps that, but that's not why Lane's here. Lane's here to dominate the state of Louisiana in recruiting and then supplement the portal with a Joe Burrow from Ohio State, right?
Right.
Get a Joe Burrow from Ohio State with Jamar Chase from New Orleans
Yep.
Jamar Chase from New Orleans and Jefferson from Adestrahan. You got a team, right? And I think that's what Lane's trying to do. But you got to get those Louisiana guys tomorrow. Although we have another
that's what
signing
they've
day.
been struggling with is keeping all of that in-state talent. I'm really interested to see how he's able to recruit there.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's going to be the most exciting part is if he's able to do that, it's going to be great. And I think he will. Brian Kelly had a hard time with that. And that's why he went and got Frank Wilson, right? That was one of Brian's biggest issues. He came in, didn't know where to start, right? Just thought, oh, it's the brand. People are just going to line up at the door to play for you. That's just not the case. You've got Houston down, A&M right down the road where they can pluck players. Bama loves taking Louisiana players. They made the inroads with Nick Saban, right? There's so many. I mean, the A-Meat Barbershop is a very famous one. There's people all over the place that love Alabama and the state of Louisiana. So it's a battle that you have to win. But once you start winning, it's an easy flip and you can put the gates back up. You just have to get out ahead of it first.
Right. Well, in terms of style, what about Lane's coaching style excites you the most?
Oh my gosh. Did you see our offense? Did you see our offense?
You're
man?
like anything, everything.
I am most excited. I think the easy answer would be the play calling and being able to be innovative on the spot. The adjustments in game is going to be the most exciting part. But for me, it's returning to a dominant running game. Watching what he's able to do, what he's been able to do with Kewan Lacey and then this offensive line and the tight ends. It's not just this full spread run and gun type of thing. Like he knows how to run power if he needs to, how to dominate a line of scrimmage if he needs to, set the tone in the running game to open up the passing game. That's what I'm most looking forward to. And then, like I mentioned before that, being able to have somebody that can identify mismatches in game, doesn't have to follow a script. And like everything we have seen with Joe Sloan and Brian Kelly, it could be a glaring deficiency on defense and we're not changing. We're just going to stick to what we're doing. There's no adjustments. There's no innovation. There's no, hey, I see this, call it. We're going to score here. There's no confidence in that. That's what I'm looking forward to, is that confidence in the play calling aspect and also being able to establish a run game, which when growing up watching LSU, that was a given. It was defense and a running game, right? And we've gone away from that. And I think we need to establish the line of scrimmage moving forward. I think Lane can do that at LSU.
What are you talking about? Brian Kelly said they're doing just fine. So,
did you see the last play?
Yeah,
Crazy.
yeah. So your answer may have just answered this next question, but like, what does Lane need to do or change to get LSU another championship? And also, obviously, you're acquainted with what the staff looks like there too. Does he need to kind of sort of clean house, or is it a little bit of adjustment here and there, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think Lane has a very unique experience in the SEC where he's been all over, and so I don't think it's as important as it was for Brian Kelly to make the right moves. Like Brian Kelly was very influenced by the outside noise, and this was something that I was kind of worried about. With not that it was an option, but we can dream for a few weeks in this coaching search that a Kenny Dillingham, right? What if we got him to LSU? My only concern would have been a young guy like Kenny Dillingham coming to LSU. He's going to have a lot of guys chirping at him. Like there's a lot of influence at LSU by people who think they know what they're talking about, right? Oh, you've got to keep this guy on staff, or you have to go, hire this high school coach because you're going to get this player in the next few years, right? I don't think Lane's just going to lean in on all of that. I think he's smarter than that, and he's got his guys. He also has Ed Orgeron in his back pocket if he needs it, right?
Yes.
And so that's a guy that I think he will kind of lean on, whether it's an on-field position or somebody he brings in as an analyst to recruit. I'm not sure. I do think there is going offensively. Yes, they're going to clean house offensively. They kind of already have. Defensively, it's very tricky because they did turn a corner defensively the past 2 seasons. It wasn't amazing, but it was certainly massive progress from year to year to year, right? You look back 3 years ago, you look back at the Jaden Daniels season, and you have one of the best offenses we've seen, and the defense was the worst statistically ever in the history of our program. Baker comes in the next year a little bit better. This year, you see the preparation that they put in for Clemson, right? Shut them down, right? There's no complimentary football, though. So a lot of Blake Baker's defense was exposed due to being on the field the entire time, right? And like they weren't elite. They were good enough, paired with a good offense, could have done the job. And so I think it's a weird situation because Baker is a very, very young, talented defensive coordinator that the other pieces around him are going to fall into place if he stays. Kevin Peoples is a guy that is our defensive end coach. He was his coach with him at Missouri. So we brought Baker and Peoples together from Missouri. You lose Baker, you lose Peoples. Kyle Williams, a defensive line coach, right? If we bring Ed back, does that mean Kyle Williams is gone? Corey Raymond is the defensive back coach, great recruiter, right? The DBU guy. He got DJ Pickett to come from Florida, and he's kind of reestablishing that theme again of a dominant defensive backfield after they've been terrible the years before. Because Brian Kelly fired Corey Raymond the minute he got the job and then backtracked and brought him back on staff. So I don't know what that's going to look like. I'm reading stuff every hour and it changes. I think the biggest thing that's come out today, though, that is a bad rumor, and I don't know if it is true or not. Frank Wilson is our interim coach. We love Frank, right? I think, and Frank worked with him at Tennessee. Lane wants to bring his running back coach very badly. He really likes his running back coach. Frank does not want to go into a position where he's not on the field. And I think Frank is a recruiter at heart. And a lot of times you put your recruiters at like a running back position, right? Our rotation at running back hasn't been great. He is your New Orleans recruiter, right? He's a former St. Aug coach. He's got all the plugs at Carr. Like he's the guy. So that's a line that Lane has to walk very delicately, right? And I think today there was some talk of Frank being upset because he's going to probably bring in his running backs coach. He already brought in his receivers coach. So, Frank's not going to coach that. Frank was his wide receivers coach at Tennessee. So like you can plug and play Frank all over the place, but at the end of the day, if you don't have a single position that you're an expert at, you're really just a recruiter. And I think he doesn't want to be that. And I think it has a little bit to do with, hey, I'm the interim head coach right now. And, right. I thought I had a chance at the job type of thing. I'm not just going to go in the back office and lock down New Orleans for you. That's a big domino that you could see. If that falls, that'll be very interesting with recruiting, right? We talked about Kenny Secure, Louisiana. Frank's a huge piece of that. But is Lane going to be like, I'm thinking bigger picture here. I'm not worried about one person, right? Defensive line wise, do you bring Ed back? You'll lose Kyle Williams. Kyle's a guy that was obviously a player for us in the Saban years. He's been coaching in high school, and big time player for the Bills, etc. Dips his toes in college this year for one season, kind of has a bad taste in his mouth, right? Of like, do I really want to stick this out? So I think there's going to be a lot of staff shakeups. I think the entire offensive staff from Ole Miss is pretty much coming to LSU. Defensively, I think if you can keep Baker, you keep most of the defense intact. The big curveballs, the dominoes. Does he keep Corey Raymond as the DB coach, and can he keep Frank Wilson? And that's yet to be seen.
Gotcha.
I just want to read the text thread between Lane and Coach O. That's just I would pay good money for those files to be leaked. Please.
I bet it gets dirty. I bet it's dirty.
Oh, I bet it's absolutely filthy. I just want to read it so bad. Because
apparently Kiffin's got like a big text message group or a group me with him, Sark, and Kirby. And yes. I think a couple other SEC coaches, maybe not head coaches, but those are the head guys that are involved in it. And I remember reading about that, and they were very specific that like Brian Kelly is not in that at all. Like that is so, I think Ed's in it probably. So that would be a very fun one to take a peek at.
Oh gosh, yes. I only have one more question, and it's a fun one. So are you excited about the next level trolling from your new coach's social media? I'm kidding, but not really.
Yeah. LSU is chaotic to begin with. Unconventional. And so I think this pairing, I expect stuff like that. I expect the trolling. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun to watch. When we lose, that shit's going to suck. Like losing big games and then seeing the next week some tweet that's, hey, are you bought in or not? Like, why are we tweeting? Like, I could see that kind of going off the rails. I was shocked to find out that Juice wasn't his dog. Like when
I'm upset. I'm so upset.
Yeah.
That was wild. Like the fact that Juice was just this prop, I can't imagine what kind of props we're going to be throwing out at LSU. Like,
please don't give him a tiger.
Who knows what we get him? Who knows what we get
Lord,
him?
you can't get him a tiger.
But the troll game, if he's willing to troll with a fake pet, I think we're gonna see some stuff. Am I excited about it? I wouldn't say I'm excited. I think right now we are sky high. We're on cloud 9.
Right.
So he can do whatever he wants right now. Like I said, when we lose, that's whenever we're going to have to really have a conversation about, man, this is following the Kiffin saga the past few weeks. I was exhausted, and I was exhausted. Like I am on a Twitter hiatus right now. Like I can't look at anything right now because I'm exhausted.
Poor Marty Smith. He was exhausted.
Oh my God. Marty.
Marty jumping over barricades, driving the loaf of bread van. You heard that story? That was crazy just to get that final interview with him.
Right.
And he said when he pulled up, Kiffin was just laughing his tail.
Give that man a raise.
Yeah.
That's right.
I do think that it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. We're excited, but I am exhausted. And I think that's a result of who Lane Kiffin is. We're going to be very exhausted at times of keeping up with just the drama. I was told this, I read this a million times throughout the weeks. If LSU gets Lane Kiffin, you guys, all these red flags that everyone talks about, you don't care if he leaves you, whatever, it's going to go out the window the second he has his introductory press conference. And I tell you what, that press conference, I said, I see it. I get it. Like I'm sucked in already. I've got the blindfolds on. Hopefully we can get a championship out of this because I'm a sucker for it. I'm all in. And I think a lot of it has to do with not having an offense, not having a true leader, and not having someone that really, truly respects and understands the power of the brand and who is a brand type of guy. He's a brand in himself. He's going to combine that with the brand of LSU. That's exciting. Something we've been waiting for a long time. So, sky's the limit in my head right now. Will reality hit next year with this incredible schedule that we have, where we have, Bama, Clemson, A&M at home? Like we have quite a gauntlet, even though we have,
Ole Miss?
They do
at Ole Miss again. Back-to-back years we have to go to
already
Ole
been
Miss.
circled.
I'm just saying, just like watch for golf balls.
I am not going to that game.
And maybe mustard. I don't know if they're going to take any tips from
mustard, golf balls. They might have to have the nets. They might not have.
I mean, honestly, I think they'll get violent. I think they'll choose violence.
Absolutely.
Well, you never know. Maybe you could get Lane on the pod too. He does respond. He responded to us once. We
Really?
posted a video and said, "I wonder if Lane Kiffin watches these," and he replied, "No."
No.
That's great. That's
He's
great. Well, that means he did. So
That's
yeah,
that's
right.
he
awesome.
makes me
Exactly.
laugh. I would love if anybody from like Bravo producer is watching, send a crew.
Mm.
Please send a crew to Baton Rouge and just follow him for a
Yeah. Oh
season
gosh.
I would
because
love to have seen a crew follow him the night before he left Ole Miss. I mean, just
they left his
seeing him,
clothes outside.
seeing him like hiding in like in his office watching the Iron Bowl, being like, "Well, let's see what happens on this play. It's going to determine where I go."
I
Like that
know.
would have just
That
Keith
fourth
Carter in the
down play.
background. Like, yeah,
It was the most like bachelor
that was insane.
moment or bachelorette moment, and then everything that's happened up until now, and I imagine that will continue to happen, is just giving like Real Housewives. Like there's just so much vitriol.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I would expect nothing less
No.
from LSU and Lane Kiffin. Um, you know, everyone hated us with Brian Kelly, and everyone hates us now with Lane Kiffin. So
Yeah.
I think we are embracing that. I think everyone is hating on it because it's Lane and how it happened. I do think deep down, a lot of people are like, hey, this might get kind of fun to watch at LSU. Like, this is going to be very entertaining. And maybe I'm just in my own delusional world. I do think that it's going to work out pretty good for LSU and Lane
He
Kiffin.
is everything that I think LSU embodies. Like I think it's a great pairing
It's
of
a good fit.
personality and brand and culture. I think he'll fit in well there. I think he'll thrive there. And it's going to be a little chaotic,
Yeah.
but as an outsider, it's going to be fun to watch until we play
Right.
you.
That's right. That's right.
I agree too, and I think the biggest draw, I think, or one of the biggest draws, is the fact that he'll be able to recruit well and not just have to mix and match and patch things up with the portal like he did so much at Ole Miss. So, which I mean, he was good
Yeah.
at, but he won't have to.
Well, that's the thing. He's
Exactly.
so good at it in Oxford, Mississippi.
Yeah.
He's going to be incredible at it in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Yeah, yeah, you would expect that. That's the hope, and you could see that twinkle in his eye at the press conference when he talked about the portal. He was just kind of
When
like,
he
"That's
did it, his Ed O impression.
yeah, yeah."
Why is
that's
everyone
good.
going to LSU and changing their voice? Make it stop.
it's the power of the stadium, as he
That's
said.
it.
No, well, I will say this: Ole Miss at Ole Miss next year is going to be chaotic. The opener at home at night against Clemson, though, that is going to be electric. The
Battle of
first
the Death Valleys.
the first Lane game, you know, coming out of that tunnel against Dabo, like a defeated Dabo Sweeney to
Mhm.
just end his career with that on the sword of Lane Kiffin's introduction to Tiger Stadium. It's going to be crazy.
They are the antithesis of each other, which is even
Yeah.
better.
Yes.
It's going to be wild. Well, that's all the questions I had. Jesse, did you have any before we?
I've sprinkled mine in. I am just living for every meme, every video that everyone is making. This has been so fun to watch.
Oh yeah.
As an outsider, I am living for the drama, and I expect nothing less from Lane Kiffin. This is everything Lane is.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
very excited.
If I was an LSU fan, I would be stoked right now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, when Saban retired, I wanted Lane.
Yeah.
So I'm just a little salty, but it's
I get it.
Mike, where can everybody find you guys on the social medias?
Yeah, so at Pot of Gold is our main handle. Pot of GEAUXLD. Obviously, we have to have that Cajun flair of how
right.
you spell gold. My individual Twitter is at Gold Mike, same way of spelling of gold. You can find us on YouTube, on Spotify, anywhere you record podcasts. We have started doing a lot of video lately. I know we're 10 years behind the 8 ball there. We just stuck to audio forever, but yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. Very excited for what's to come, and we'll be spinning y'all's episodes as well.
Yeah,
we'll
it's
have to have you
exciting.
back next season when
Yep.
when we figure out how Lane pans out.
That's
Yeah.
right. Give us a couple years. Hopefully Lane gives us a couple years. We'll see.
There you go. That's right. Exciting times. Well, thanks, Mike, for coming on the show.
Thanks, Mike.
Appreciate y'all. Have a good one.
You
Yeah,
too.
you too.
All right. Well, that was fun as usual. Mike's got great things to say. Very thoughtful and addressed all of our questions. And it's a wild time over there in Baton Rouge right now. So a lot to discuss. So we appreciate him taking the time out to answer all our questions. So
That was fun.
we'll see what happens with Lane. It's going to be you want to talk about get your popcorn ready. That phrase
Oh
is
my God.
definitely applicable right now. So, all right. Well, let's talk about the only upcoming SEC game.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
All right. Well, let's talk about our predictions for Georgia, 11-1 versus Alabama, 10-2. 4 o'clock on ABC from Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, the SEC championship. Yeah, so
Ugh.
we got a pick from Matt, who is not here, obviously. He picked Georgia 28-24. Gosh, let's see. Let me change my score real quick. Not much, but just a little bit. Listen, I know Vegas has picked Georgia yet again. I know the defense has looked a lot better than when we played Bama the first time. I know Bama has shown some weakness in recent weeks, and we've beat the dead horse about not being able to run the ball, right? Or even, lately some of the struggles with Ty Simpson. But even with all that considered, even the most casual fan can see that Georgia and Kirby Smart have a Bama problem. Don't believe me, Kirby Smart is 1-7 against Bama, and many Bama fans will be quick to tell you that the one was with some of their star players out with injury. And we could argue that Georgia had young players who had to step up too in that one, but that's a different discussion for a different show. I've heard all the it's hard to beat a team twice in the same season talk, and I always get tricked into thinking that Georgia will beat Bama as if this movie's going to end differently. But it's only happened once in the Kirby Smart era. Until Georgia beats Bama again, there's just no way I'm picking them. And I'm sorry, Georgia fans. It's not that I'm not loyal to Georgia or don't believe in the dogs or whatever. It's just kind of the reality of what we're experiencing here lately. So Georgia has shown time and time again that even if they have a better team on paper, as soon as they see Bama jerseys out there on the field, they just freeze and forget what a football even is. So, look, they're probably going to play better than I expect them to, and they're probably going to get my hopes up. But I'm going to tell you right now, I can't pick against Bama until Georgia proves me wrong. So I'm going to go Bama here, 28-24. That said, if we lose and drop down to somewhere between 5 and 8, I'm not mad about the realistic prospect of Athens hosting a playoff game. So, Jesse, what is your prediction?
I could very well pick Georgia in this, but I'm going to say because we had a struggle win against Auburn, I'm going to call it exactly what it was a struggle win. I think hopefully that has opened up everyone's eyes and really is going to help us get our act together. Again, I think we got the running game moving. I don't know that Jam Miller is going to play, but at least we got the run game going. And I just need us, whatever voodoo someone's put on Ty Simpson, I need us to hire an Etsy witch to get it taken off before Saturday. So I'm going to pick the Tide in this one. I am not comfortable with this pick. I could very well flip it and be just as uncomfortable. I'm going to pick Bama 27-24.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to this game, if I'm perfectly honest. The only reason I might look forward to this game in terms of a potential to win is the fact that it might knock Bama out of consideration, and I don't want to play them again. So,
yeah, it very well could.
So obviously that'll ultimately be up to the committee, but I do not want to see them again. So that's the only reason I might get excited about this one, but I'm not expecting much. I'm going to keep the expectations low and see what happens. So
same.
All right. Well, it'll be exciting to see what happens regardless. And that brings us to the end of our episode. We really appreciate Mike being our guest this week from Pot of Gold. Check them out. If you'd like to email us, please do so at pigskinsandpageantry@gmail.com. We are at Pigskins and Pageantry on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. We are at PPSEC Podcast on X. Jesse, that's your cue to say Twitter.
Oh, Twitter.
Don't forget, we're available for download on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, all the places you can catch your podcasts out there. If you enjoyed the show, please take a moment, subscribe, and review 5 stars. We'd love that, an opportunity to have more conversations with wonderful people like yourselves. Championship Saturday is coming up. This is Wes. Until next time, go Dogs.
Let's someone find an Etsy, which I think there's multiple, but somebody just pay the $25, please. Okay? Roll Tide.